We always talk about how you shouldn't lose hope for whatever your dream is, and that dream might look differently. Don't fixate on that perfection. I also think it's important for women to not be so hard on ourselves. We are constantly in the fight and the battle and the journey for so many things. And, take a step back and celebrate who you are and how you are.
I'm really happy that you're here, Jaclyn. I can't wait to pick your brain.
Oh, boy. Well, hey, I'm ready.
Okay, let's go. Where do we jump in? Where do we get started? We know each other through the WeNatal community, right? And and also kind of through acupuncture and functional medicine, this little neighborhood here in Brentwood.
Yes.
But I'd like to just let the listener know your background, because were you already in medicine when you received your diagnosis of breast cancer?
Yeah, good question. And happy to start there. So I was diagnosed back in 2016.
That's not that long ago.
Not that long ago.
And
Feels
you would have
like
been how
ages.
old?
I was in my early 30s. I was about 33. And at that time, I was a concierge medicine doctor practicing in Miami Beach. I was seeing up to 20 people a day, working the weekends, working on holidays, always being on call for my patients. And little did I know, I was also developing breast cancer. I was on the beach with my husband in the summer, and we were like wrestling, playing around. And I have a dog, a Chihuahua at the time named Jasmine. And we loved going to the beach, especially in Miami. You can imagine how gorgeous it is there. So during one of the sunsets, he was tickling me, just literally tickling me. And he hit my breast, my right breast. Underneath the right breast is where my husband found the cancer on me. And at the time, I think deep down I knew that there was something more to it. But of course, you kind of question feeling a mass, feeling a lump, especially being so young, because in your mind, or at least in many women's minds, oh, it's got to be nothing. Let me go ahead and just have it looked at. So knowing that my mom had breast cancer when she was 48, and also again when she was 68, and even now when she's 82 with metastatic breast cancer, I still walked through the path of ultrasound, mammogram, doing a ultrasound guided biopsy, and then getting a breast MRI. Once the diagnosis happened, I think that for me, it was really more about feeling overwhelmed with this diagnosis and thinking about all of the other ramifications and effects it would have on my life, my relationship, and even my future fertility. At that age, I was also a woman who was on several years of birth control, probably about 14, 15 years. And of course, immediately at the time of finding out, it was immediately, let's go ahead and stop. And I had such a short window of opportunity to make some decisions on, is my fertility going to be, am I going to be able to at least harvest any eggs or not? Because the timeline was so tight in terms of going through chemo, having a double mastectomy, going through chemo, going through all the other treatments, etc., I really had just a 90-day window of opportunity to harvest any possible eggs to help support that before all of my treatments were going to start. And the hard part was, do I do this? Do I not? How am I going to prepare my body for this? I've been on birth control for all of those years. Are they even going to find anything? Are we going to be able to harvest anything at all? So I remember just being so overwhelmed because I was making these decisions about my treatment. And at the same time, I was also making decisions about whether or not we were going to be able to have this natural baby.
And it sounds like you already knew quite a bit about women's reproductive physiology. So you were already a physician?
Yes, already a physician, already practicing. I mean, that was 2016. So I graduated med school in 2010. And so, when something like that happens to a younger physician, I think in my mind, it was all these wheels turning. Why didn't I get this earlier? How come we didn't find it? Was I not checking my breasts enough? How long has this been here? It kind of like lots of things happen in your brain and you kind of wonder about all of that. But at the same time, another level of, where your brain is going is, what kind of treatment am I going to do? Am I going to feel supported? Are there any other women that are going through this like me at such a young age? And, in some ways feeling a little alone, but then in others also trying to navigate the ropes in a new marriage and talking with my family about it. And then, of course, really relying on my friends for support. So it was quite the journey.
And you haven't even mentioned whether are we going to be able to get it? And get it all and like resolve it and move forward, or how much of the treatment slippery slope am I going to need to
I mean, the overwhelming part was seeing multiple doctors. So we're talking multiple specialists. I even flew up to New York to see, some oncologists there, met with different types of, healers and specialists, ultimately decided to do the double mastectomy because of the fact that my mom had breast cancer a couple times by then. So, in my mind, I thought about surveillance, about repeating imaging studies and how stressful that can be for women. And I just decided for myself, this is the route that I'm going to go. And, it's also a very tough decision because then I was also thinking about, am I ever going to be able to breastfeed a baby if I do decide, or, God willing, that Charles and I were going to be able to have any children? And so that was another, thought in my head. But at the same time, I was just really focused on the fact of, here's where I'm at. I'm 33 right now. What do I need to do in order to survive and support my body? So that was why I made that decision.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. Yeah. So you made that decision, and then you decided maybe, should we start talking about having a baby, honey? Or you just wanted to practice medicine? Like, where was your head after all of that?
I took a year off to support my treatment journey. And I ended up having the double mastectomy. And then from there, I had exactly 3 months to support fertility. So I did a triple stimulation IVF cycle over 3 months. So month after month after month, hundreds of injections, lots of medication, just to see what we could get. And with each cycle of IVF, we were only able to turn around 4 to 5 eggs.
Wow.
Right.
And so, you would have been like 35 years
33,
old?
33.
Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Okay.
And then, of course...
but this was in the context of having recovered or having gone through breast cancer treatment. Mm-hmm. Sounds like it was like within months of doing the surgery?
Yes, it was within months of the surgery.
So did you do some emotional work, or you spent time with your healers?
I did.
Like, and I feel like it was reconciled enough and that you were...
Yeah. No.
You do or you don't?
I do not.
Right.
I don't.
Because I was like, that's a Academy Award winning rapid healing, and healing in quotes, because everybody's really talking about, is there true healing or not?
Yeah. I think that I had to work with what I could. Mm-hmm. And because the timetable was so quick for every single IVF cycle, I was just doing the best I can. So I was really still in survival mode. Mm-hmm. And the outcome of only getting 4 to 5 eggs for each IVF cycle was also really disappointing, because most of the time, even my reproductive doctor was telling me, it should at least be double, if not triple that. Mm-hmm. And it's really surprising how little we were able to get. But then I had to take a step back and think, well, I was also on 15 years of birth control. I was also under a lot of stress. Obviously, my body was hospitable for cancer. And I had just gone through the double mastectomy surgery. So it was way too much.
Yeah. And there was a lot of cortisol and adrenaline circulating in your system.
Exactly.
Which was probably not supporting your estrogen levels to support those eggs.
No, not at all. And so we did what we could. And then I, kind of continued on from a treatment standpoint. I did go through chemo. I did lose all my hair.
Oh, wow.
I went through almost 6 months of cycles. What made you choose to do that? Of chemo? Mm-hmm. Well, I think that in that time, and we're talking 2016, in Miami, after I had spoken with all of the 3 oncologists, some were opting for more aggressive treatments. And for some of them, it was not 6 months of chemo, but it was 18 months. Or we want you to do this and do radiation. I actually chose the most conservative of the treatments, and not the most aggressive, which would have been, like 16 treatments of chemo. Mm-hmm. And I chose the most conservative, and it was a really tough go, Emotionally, I was very much withdrawn. I very much isolated. I did take the time off to support my body through that process, but it was hard. And so for those months, especially when I lost my hair, I found it really hard to be out in public. I felt embarrassed and ashamed. For a portion of it, I was still working and I was wearing a wig. I remember wearing a wig to work for part of it. And then I was put on medication to suppress hormones after the chemotherapy was done. And so I was on those medications for a couple of years. At the time, it was just the decision I made. And, we can't go back because sometimes people will ask me and they'll say, would you make the same decision with everything you know now? And I'm not so sure I would. Because the way that I look at my body and my body's ability to heal and its resilience, and I learned so much about functional and integrative medicine and all different forms of healing and focusing on my own emotional journey, I don't think I would have made the same decision.
Yeah, well, you really, if we were reading this as a transcript, when you said my body was hospitable to cancer, we would put those words in bold text, right? So I'm circling back to that.
Yeah.
Because I think with regards to fertility, cancer, chronic illness, there's enough of us that agree there's an emotional seed at the root.
Oh, yes.
Of these kinds of things. So did you do a deep dive and kind of get a sense of like what's at the root of being welcoming cancer, or how it would serve you maybe to get to have to deal with it?
Yeah. When I kind of break it up into what I did to support it, whenever you think about functional medicine, we always think about understanding why. So we become a detective who is literally going down the puzzles of this person's life to really understand the evolution. And I did a lot of that work. So even in that year to support the healing, that's when I kind of added in a lot of the functional and integrative medicine knowledge over the course of that year, with a lot of different coursework from different places, including the Institute for Functional Medicine, including Andrew Weil's program for integrative medicine, etc. But one really important book for me was Dr. Nasha Winter's book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. And a part of that also mentioned, really digging deeper into emotional support and thinking, okay, once you dial it back, is there any signs of trauma that also contributed to this? Personally, I think so. When I think about my life and I think about even my childhood, I did experience childhood trauma. And so I feel as though that was also part of what kind of, created this hospitable environment in my body. And it was never processed. I never dealt with it. I had not, really understood truly to a deep core how it really affected me. And I needed to do that. So part of that healing journey, even after the double mastectomy and going through chemo, was to dig deep into that, into the childhood trauma. And I was seeing a few different specialists to help support me along that way. I had never done the work. And so, doing the work for that portion of emotional healing that I needed, that was 100% therapeutic to kind of help me build the confidence and safety that my body needed to move forward. And I'm really proud of myself because I think that's an ongoing journey and the work's not done there, but realizing it and acknowledging it and, giving myself the time and space to process what had happened then, it's changed me in a very different way.
For sure. Just like fertility treatment does. And it did in your case too, but doing the work, it looks different for everybody.
It does, yes.
Some need to find stillness and just sit still instead of like outrunning or staying busy or whatever. Some need to journal. Some need to really cry. Some need to make big life changes.
All those things. I needed to do all those things, right? Like I was in Miami at the time. So this is, 2016, 2017. And my husband and we moved here in 2018. And I was looking for an integrative and a functional medicine type practice. I didn't feel as though, from a work perspective, that I was finding that in Miami. And so at the time I thought, let me look where else I'm going to find a more progressive, type of medicine.
And that's Los Angeles.
Yes. And that's what brought us here. And I joined a company where it was just a 90-day opportunity just to, try you out, just to see. And so here I am, post-cancer, post-concierge medicine practice, thinking about taking a job where you're pretty much on like a 90-day trial and uprooting our whole life, right? Our families are in Florida, and it was such a big decision for me to do that, And I felt so deeply that this was the kind of medicine that I wanted to practice. I wanted to understand root cause medicine. I wanted to practice this. I didn't want to see people for 15-minute appointments, 20 people a day, 5 days a week. I didn't want to do that anymore. And so I told my husband, I said, I know that this is the kind of medicine I want to practice. We're going to find a place to help support me. And I moved to Los Angeles, and we've been here ever since. It was scary, frightening to do that.
Sure. And facing those fears and doing it anyway is part of your healing work.
It is. Right? And I thought,
taking the leap of faith.
Yes. And I thought, I have nothing to lose. I was already in the midst of trying to figure out what I wanted to do from a purpose standpoint. I didn't feel like I was living and working in my purpose. And so, I just thought, I have nothing to lose. This is going to be an experience for the both of us. And I've, ever since being in LA, felt so welcomed. We have such a great community of all different types of healers from all different backgrounds. And we have this love for each other that I don't know if I would find anywhere else.
Right. That's what the whole point was of doing the Baby Makers podcast in the first place, was to spotlight this community here in LA, because we're all very progressive and heart-centric.
Yeah.
And dealing with so much infertility. Yes. So it doesn't really make any sense. But if we can be kind of, quote, leaders in this message of do the work, dig a little bit deeper, listen to yourself, find a spiritual aspect where you can soothe yourself or build your faith in something beyond yourself, that those kinds of things really help.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, look, I had gone through multiple treatments over the course of the 8 years, right? This is IUIs, there was Clomid, there was all sorts of medications. I had gone through multiple IVFs. And the very, very last cycle of IVF, in order for me to have my son Koa, I told myself, look, this is it. I'm just going to surrender to whatever happens. And, no matter what, I always try to focus on visualizing myself pregnant, looking at myself in the mirror, really manifesting that in my meditations, and just thinking about what that feeling would be and how that would look, how I would feel, what I would wear.
Yeah.
And I approached that very last IVF cycle differently than I had done the others. I also think that there was a few fun things that were really important to me that I did. I also made sure, this might be strange, but I also made sure that with that particular cycle, I was doing acupuncture. Very consistent. I was also taking herbs from my acupuncturist. She was compounding herbs for me. So throughout the cycles, and then also before and after I had the reimplantation. Then we also did sun on the belly. So literally, I would make sure that in open air, I was always exposing my belly to sunlight so that I can get the healing rays of the infrared and red light. So this was either in the mornings or at sunset or even the middle of the day. I would make sure that I exposed my belly to the sun all the time for at least 15 to 30 minutes every single day.
Wow.
And that was a fun thing to do because I made it more of an experience. I'd have a little tea. I had sun on my belly. My little chihuahua was there. And then sometimes there would be music. I was doing a meditation, some sort of manifestation for me to visualize myself pregnant. And so it was just a little slice of time.
It sounds like a ritual.
Yeah.
And a commitment to yourself.
Yes.
And that kind of made your beacon to baby spirits be a little bit brighter, maybe,
I love
or
that. Yeah.
something a little bit tighter, a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
Where I like to make the joke with my patients that we're telling the universe we're serious.
Oh, yes.
So with your steadfast commitment to doing it on the daily.
Yes. Yes.
And showing with your actions that you were serious.
Oh, I even had a crystal snow globe.
Oh, okay.
And I still have it. So the crystal snow globe, it was custom made from a healer who put infertility crystals into the snow globe. And so I used that as part of my little setup. So, I had a snow globe. I would have my tea. I had some crystals. I just made it, just that time and space for me. And like you said, I think it opened a portal to that, to really surrender and receive.
Yeah, you set an intention that for whatever healing means to you, that you believe that it's possible and that you're showing up for it.
Yes.
Like it's an appointment with the divine or something. Like here I am. I'm gonna would take a vitamin supplement or whatever. I'm gonna show up for a dose of sun rays on my belly and self-love.
Yes. Yeah.
Which, I'm sure, and this would be very interesting if we circle back briefly to the breast cancer. The small dive that I've done through breast cancer emotional research is something having to do with a resentment towards giving to others or over giving to so many people or something along those lines. So for you to pull it all back and be there for yourself on a consistent basis is actually addressing, if I have any knowledge of breast cancer emotional vibration, but I would think it would be hitting that at the root.
Oh, yeah. I mean, now that I think about it, when I found out I was pregnant, for those few months before, I was even off work. I was on a sabbatical.
So you didn't have that steady stream of cortisol and adrenaline in your system.
Yeah. So this was, we're thinking, we're in 2025. So this was winter of 2023, right? I was even off of work for a little bit. So I was on a sabbatical, meaning that they gave, the company had also given me some time off because I had been there for 5 years at least. And so I kind of used that time to just prepare myself, which meant, working, which meant really just focusing on myself. And lo and behold, out of all of the every single time we've tried this, that was the time that I got pregnant. But I did things so differently that time.
Yeah, right. We have to tell the patients to look at what you're doing differently.
Yeah.
Because that supports the message that you can become more fertile over time, depending on how you're changing. And that doesn't mean that then you take on all this stuff in an attempt to be perfect.
Yeah, of
right?
course.
The whole perfection thing has been a conversation I have a lot with the patients. But to be thinking,
I had to let go of that, you
right.
know? I think also just the idea of feeling so fixated on this has to happen. And if it doesn't happen, what am I going to do? How am I going to feel? And that last time around, it was more like, I'm going to let it happen. And if it doesn't happen, that's okay too. I had to give myself permission to be okay with that instead of always trying to vie for, 100%, I have to be pregnant. This has to happen. And I had to take that step back and say, look, if it doesn't happen, I'm going to be okay. And I still am going to have that safety in my body. And we're still going to have and create this beautiful life for ourselves. That was, something for every woman that needs to think about that and come to terms with it. Because the more aggressive that we are on this idea of perfection, I think the harder it is, the more we're stepping away from what we really need.
Right. In Chinese medicine, I don't know if you know this or not, but perfection is kind of a perceived way of treating worry, right? If I can just do it perfectly. But the spinning worry energy is just a loop. And it's what if this, what if that, what if this happens, then what if that happens? And and you can't ever get out of that loop because the worry is spiraling you. But in Chinese medicine, or in the seed program, the way that I teach the women to deal with worry emotion is to ask, well, what if the worst thing that you think happens actually does? And then they're like, they look at me like stunned, like, how could you even ask that? I need you to be positive and supporting me.
Yeah.
I say, well, you would cry.
Yeah.
You would be forced to wait. You would maybe need to take a break or borrow money from family to do another IVF or something. But if it actually turned out that this one doesn't work, or surrogacy plus egg donor and taking it as far as it possibly can, and that doesn't work, then they're like, oh, well, then I would be okay, I guess. Like, I'd eventually be okay, or I'd change my mind, or I'd adopt, or I'd find the pets or another purpose or some place where I could put the energy that would normally go to give in mothering.
Yeah.
You know? So to your point,
just
being okay with it.
It was, and it's a hard thing to be okay with when you've worked so many years for something and you're like, well, this might be our last try. So, you know, whatever the outcome is, I'm just going to surrender to it, regardless of what that is. And then, you know, try to focus on that visualization of what could be. People always ask me, they're like, you know, post-cancer, the first question is, what kind of supplements did you take? What kind of, you know, like, what else did you do? And I like to think that it was all of it. I never like to think that there was just one particular thing. I think that when you combine the forces of everything, and you do the emotional work.
Yeah, and you have the intention.
Yes.
It's self-care at the end of the day, no matter what it is that you're doing.
Yeah. So I like to think it was all of it. I mean, sure, I was taking my prenatals, you know, there was a interesting protocol that I had used when it came to minerals. And so I had minerals every day. So I was using Quinton minerals. There is a protocol that uses Quinton minerals, and this is basically purified seawater that has maybe 70 or 80 trace minerals, all, you know, synergistically working together. So I was making sure that I was taking my minerals every day, doing my prenatals, doing some additional lab work to really understand what was going on with my adrenals and my thyroid, making sure that from a food standpoint, I was putting nourishing foods in and not inflammatory stuff.
Sure. Can you speak on why the minerals are so good?
Oh, so yeah. The way that I think of from a mineral standpoint, well, if I put on my functional medicine hat, so many people are already deficient in magnesium. And we know that maybe 40 to 50% of the population has magnesium deficiencies, which is crazy, but it's true.
Because
and we see this.
The soil is depleted, because we're eating processed, convenient food.
All of the things. And minerals include magnesium, include calcium, include, like, you know, the entire 70 to 80 trace. And instead of just optimizing one or two, I wanted to make sure that I had the synergy of as many as possible working together. And that's why I chose to, like, also incorporate a daily dose of minerals in my protocol that time around. And I still, to this day, take my, you know, Quinton minerals every day.
Right. But the minerals, they help with those depleted adrenal glands.
Oh, yes.
Right? Because when we're figuratively sweating it all day long with tasks and quotas, and for us having patients in front of us with questions, we're in the hot seat. As we're sweating, we're losing our minerals. And that makes it harder for the kidneys to do their function. And then on the smaller scale, those follicles that you were making that cycle of IVF, they're full of fluid. And we need to mature them, and we want them to mature at a certain rate. And what helps fluid-filled follicles develop is, or they fill with fluid. And part of the way that they do that, I think, is by having the right mineral composition.
Oh, I mean, it was crucial for me that I did this last round differently, and I tried things that were outside of the traditional scope. I also, in my mind, was thinking, if there are hundreds, if not thousands of mitochondria inside these follicles, how can we support the mitochondrial health? What do we need to do? And I think that's where the sunlight also came in for me, was using the infrared and the red light and supporting that on my belly. And also including certain types of supplements that were really targeted towards the mitochondria, right? So it was like, let me do that portion of it, make sure I'm putting nourishing foods in, following really good sleep hygiene and, you know, having a really great morning routine, getting sun on my belly. And then for those 3 months that I was off and not seeing patients, just, you know, letting myself engage in all the self-care practices that I talk about to people every day. And so, yeah. And it was exciting. It was scary. I was nervous. It was going to be the last time that Charles and I were going to do this. So we had decided that together.
Surrendered.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're a physician.
I am.
Dual physician. So like, you know, intellectually all the things, but that doesn't really bring any comfort. This is a person thing.
Yes. It's it was a human thing. Yeah. And, you know, I know that so many breast cancer survivors really struggle with that, especially depending on where they were in their treatments and their journey, and wondering when and if they were still going to be able to have the family that they dreamed of.
Depending on how much they've suppressed to be able to survive.
Yes. Yeah. And it's, you know, it's near and dear to me because to this day, I see so many young women that are also struggling with these types of decisions. Some might not get the safe kind of education that they need to also support self-checks, seeing their doctors regularly, getting the proper screening done, paying attention to family history and personal history, what effects medications have, including long-term use of birth control. Lots of stuff that we need to think about and talk about. And we can't just push it under the rug because more and more young people are getting cancer. So, you know, it's important for us to acknowledge that all of this learning and education that we have to support this population, it's here. You know, there are things that we can do. And we know that from a breast cancer standpoint, if and when it's caught early, 99% survival rates. That's huge. When it's caught later, it's not 99%, right? So the more that we can do from a preventative standpoint to help educate young women to understand this about their bodies, to do the self-checks, to talk with their doctors about the concerns, the better off we'll be, that we can really focus on the true prevention side of things.
So even though this is an episode about a fertility journey, just real quick, what are some of the danger signs or something that would prompt a woman to go to the doctor?
Yeah.
We all know this, but let's just talk about it briefly.
You know, it's worth a few minutes.
Well, especially because the women listening, they are doing IVF and they are wearing estrogen patches and getting exogenous hormones. So they might also not be keeping up with the gynae appointments and stuff at that time because several times per month they're having a wand inserted or they're seeing the doctor. So it could actually like slide
to the back of your head. Yeah. There's a really great app. It's from a nonprofit organization called Know Your Lemons.
Oh, that's cute.
Yes. And everyone can download the app, and it has a self-breast exam guide. It also has videos that show women. It also talks about breast cancer education because the nonprofit also believes very heavily on prevention and how if we catch this in the early stages, there is, you know, that 99% survival rate. So it focuses on education. The warning signs, I think that's always a strange thing because there aren't any. For some, there aren't any huge warning signs. I mean, in my mind, when I think back at 33-year-old Jaclyn, I was overworked. You know, I was burning out. I was tired all day. And I always chalked up my fatigue to my work. Oh, you're a doctor, you're practicing, you're running around all over the place. That must be the reason why you're so tired. Meanwhile, you know, I didn't have any other symptoms except when my husband helped me find that lump and I was tired. Didn't really have anything else. But there is value to those self-checks because so many of the cancers are also found through those self-exams. So I think that's an important thing.
Is he a physician?
No.
Oh, okay. So he just was noticing something's different in your breasts, baby?
No, that was when we
he's tickling you, but
and that was it.
So it must have been like a grape size?
Yes, it was 2 centimeter. Really small. Yeah. My husband does marketing.
Oh, okay.
So he's in the digital world, marketing and web design, digital media stuff. So far away from the doctoring, but so interesting that he's the one that found it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. And then for women who are, you know, doing the self-checks, the lumps and bumps, if something seems strange, definitely talk to your doctor about it. Don't just dismiss that, right? I think also during the pandemic, there was a lot of women who, during the pandemic, over the course of several years, just kind of put off some of those screening checks and screening appointments. And because of that, you know, there was also many cancers that were also found in those later stages. So talking to your doctor about when I should start my screenings, doing my self-checks, thinking about family history, if that is important, you know, there's certain risks, and that's one of them. And then also thinking about, am I on any medications that could be upregulating things in my body, such as propelling even more estrogen, etc. And what I learned in functional medicine during that year post chemo, that's when I dug into estrogen metabolism.
Okay.
And learning about how, for some women, our bodies don't metabolize estrogen well. And that could be a recipe for disaster for a woman who's on long-term use of birth control. Because then you're taking in a lot of this medication, these estrogen medications, and then you don't detoxify the estrogen well. So your body is then creating an inflammatory response. And I think that was also a contributing factor to my cancer as well. It's
not
something I didn't know.
Metabolizing the synthetic estrogen in your birth control pill.
Yeah.
How does one detoxify from?
Ooh, good question. So, you know, when we think about estrogen metabolism, a majority of it is actually happening through the digestive tract. But of course, the way that a woman sweats, you know, her regular exercise, whether or not the liver and kidney function is optimal, making sure that you're hydrating, those types of things. Since a lot of the estrogen metabolism is specifically happening through the digestive tract, through the liver, then focusing on the liver and also focusing on the good gut bacteria that we need to help nourish and populate, very important. When I had done some testing post-cancer, I had done stool testing because I was curious. I was one of those curious people. And what I learned was that I had really high amounts of those bacteria in my gut.
The good ones?
The bad.
Okay.
That do a lot of the recirculating. And so that was something I needed to work on, right? Because if my overgrowth of bad bacteria was also contributing to this estrogen metabolism, and I was already post-cancer, post-treatment, this is something that I want to get under control so that I don't have to go through this all over again.
In a different part of your body. Because the bad bacteria.
Yes.
Well, I guess I should say, like, having plenty of the good bacteria supports your immune response, ability to fight and keep those cellular divisions under wraps.
Yes. I mean, we always talk about
holistic,
that. Yes. Right? And, you know, it was not just eating perfectly. Like, people always ask me too, if I had a chef and I was eating perfectly every single meal, but I had low stomach acid, I was stressed when I was eating, I wasn't intentional about the food, I was eating it at 2 a.m., or I didn't absorb everything through, or even the ecosystem of that gut bacteria wasn't great, then that perfect food is not so perfect anymore. So I often talk to people about that. You know, it's not just
who starts with perfect food, or who has that chef.
Yeah,
you know? Not very many people I know.
Yeah. So, you know, that one was an important one too.
Right. So, do you mostly work with women now?
I'd say my population is probably 60-40, you know, 60-40 female to male, and it's changed. It's evolved. So at Love.Life, which is where I work now, I do see a little bit more of the 60-40, whereas at my previous practice, it was more like 70-30 women to men. Yeah. Right. I think what happens is when I created like a social media presence or a brand, you kind of call in people. And I kind of ended up calling in a lot of those that were really dealing with hormonal conditions of every kind. I haven't got a period cycle back. I'm dealing with PMS or PMDD. You know, I'm struggling with fibroids or PCOS. I can't get pregnant and I've been trying everything under the sun. I'm going through menopause and I don't understand what's happening to me and I want to understand this better. So it became, a lot more of the female population because I just love talking about hormone health. Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing now, especially in the past few months that I've been at Love.Life, is there is a shift between not just a majority of the female population wanting to understand their bodies about hormone health, but all of the men wanting to understand their bodies when it comes to hormone health.
Good.
And yes, we need both.
It's great to hear.
We need both. And so that is, it's been quite the shift. And I welcome that, right? At the end of the day, I think it's important for everybody to learn about their bodies in a better way. And unfortunately, traditional medicine has its limitations. Mm-hmm. And so, we're trying to help fill in some of those gaps.
Mm-hmm. Before we go back to your fertility story, let's talk about what's going on at Love.Life, because it's like functional medicine meets exercise meets nutrition, and it's really holistic and integrative.
Yes.
There are panels to be let's talk about that, because it's such a good resource and a new business model, a new company.
Yes.
Let's
it is.
Plug it. I think it'd be good.
So Love.Life was founded by John Mackey, who founded Whole Foods, co-founder of Whole Foods. And the idea was birthed, I think, around 2021, 2022. And when I met John and I met the executive team, a lot of the executive team was from Whole Foods and, of course, carried into Love.Life. Everybody was truly passionate about this integrative wellness / holistic club ecosystem where people could get everything in one place rather than traveling to some place to see their doctor and then another place to see their acupuncturist and another place to see their personal trainer for exercise and yet another place to see a dietitian. And they really wanted to bring in holistically what they could in one location. And that meant that when people see us at Love.Life, they have an expert care team that includes a registered dietitian, an energetic healer, somebody who does mind-body medicine. In our case, it's a somatic healer, seeing an integrative physician, also having the person's physical therapist and personal trainer, and a few other experts all in one place. And so the beauty of that experience is that people were no longer just getting one person's care, they were getting everybody's melded care as a team. And it gave us the opportunity to make sure that when we see patients, we're talking about the cases collaboratively and we're lending on the expertise of all of our different experts. And it's a beautiful thing to have that. So I'm really grateful to be able to support, and have that kind of care at Love.Life. In addition to that care model, our patients have this beautiful, nourishing food cafe that was very thoughtfully designed to make sure that we had really great ingredients. They also have access to recovery modalities that include sauna and cold plunge and steam room and
the cryo tank.
Yes, all of that. And then, of course, state-of-the-art fitness equipment to support that. We also include different types of assessments that are part of the membership. So people also have a musculoskeletal assessment that's performed by a physical therapist, head-to-toe assessment. They also do a DEXA scan, DEXA, to really hone in on body fat and body composition in addition to looking at bone density. They do tests like VO2 max to understand oxygenation and carrying capacity during physical exertion. And so we've really blended all that together and created this community where people can experience all of that. It is unlike any other care model that we've seen in Los Angeles. And what I love most is being able to work with so many other experts and other people who feel this way about health, that it should be holistic, that it should be healing, that we should focus on lifestyle, that we should understand stress, that community is so important to that social connection, and we're not alone in this journey. And so that's all about Love.Life.
Right. Isn't there also a lab panel
there
phlebotomist or
yes.
something like you?
Yes.
I think that is really where medicine is going, where instead of just getting the blood test for physiological man or can you check my hormones, then they get the estrogen and progesterone, LH, right. AMH, there's way more markers.
More than that, yeah.
Because there's way more going on. And,
yes. Yes.
You and Anna, if she's still there, you
yes.
guys know the interplay of these things, yes. like how they all work or argue with each other, these yes. hormones.
It was crucial when we created the lab panels that the members get. Most of the time people are coming in and they only get like maybe 20% mm-hmm. of the lab panel mm-hmm. that they get at Love.Life. Mm-hmm. So we call it an advanced comprehensive panel. Mm-hmm. It does include a full hormone assessment, and it's not just 1 or 2 hormones. It does look at cardiovascular markers in detail, metabolic markers in more detail. It does look at more nutrients than people typically get at a doctor's office. And most importantly, it's not just about gathering that kind of data. It's knowing how to use it
right.
and what to do with it mm-hmm. and having a team that's going to help support that process of understanding, because there's lots of places that are offering that, but they're not offering this holistic care and evaluation to really understand what does it mean mm-hmm. when somebody has, X number of labs that are off or whatever those markers are. And it's not just about being in the normal range for vitamin D between 30 and 100.
That's right? A big range.
So big, uh-huh. So understanding that difference between what's normal or mm-hmm. physiologic and where do we need certain levels to be supported for people to thrive? Mm-hmm. And we don't just take that into consideration. We're thinking about your past medical history dating all the way back to birth, thinking about if you were breast or bottle fed, because we also know that the innate immune system as it's developing in babies, what role does that play to somebody's health over time? So we talk through, and the very first visit at Love.Life is really about listening. It's just an hour of listening to the patient's story, understanding what's going on now, what those top goals are, but really digging deeper into the history so that I spend time understanding if there's any clues or patterns of things that have happened throughout this person's life that have also contributed to what's happening now. And I think about that for myself with my breast cancer. I was 33 when it happened, but so much had also happened, mm-hmm. including the childhood trauma, including the stress from medical school, including the weight and metabolic issues that I was struggling 10 years before it was found.
Uh-huh. And overworking.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Right. Not to mention that's at the top of the list.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when you get this intake, then do you present that patient's case to the conference table, the team, and a plan is made for these patients?
Yeah. So after the labs are drawn, visit number 2 is all about looking at that data and also talking through with a physical therapist, their personal trainer, any experts that they saw on our team about what their findings are. So there is a consultative, experience that happens where we're talking before we see them for that first follow-up, so that we can also relay some of the messaging that was also gathered in those assessments that took place. That first follow-up visit is also an hour long, just like that initial. And the purpose of that is to really walk through the data, make sure they truly understand what the levels are, and then take into consideration what those top goals are, the experts that they saw, the assessments that took place, and come up with their treatment plan. And a treatment plan is never finite. Mm-hmm. It's not like, oh, this is it. Mm-hmm. Here's your one visit and there's a treatment plan. Mm-hmm. I don't believe that. I think this evolves as we also evolve and experience things. So patients at Love.Life have multiple visits. They're seeing us at least 5 times throughout the course of the year. And they also have access to messaging to help address issues in between. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful,
It really is a new model of healthcare.
Yes,
because the panels are coming about and communities are forming that are providing the full spectrum. If we're all going to be specialists, then we all need to work together.
Yes.
When the patient presents, so that we can say, oh, this is a metabolic, or this is an emotional, or this is a lifestyle, or something. So do you see fertility patients at Love.Life?
I do. I see fertility patients.
It's amazing.
And, when it comes to some of the recovery modalities like the red light bed and the red light infrared sauna, et cetera, they're utilizing some of those modalities when it comes to supporting their fertility journey, right? So,
and you have acupuncturists there.
We do,
right?
Yes. We actually have Dr. Natalie. So Natalie, she's my acupuncturist, and she was also my acupuncturist for my fertility journey. And it's really great that she's also on staff because I've learned so much from her and with her. We've collaborated on cases, we had patients together. And so it was a really great addition to be able to have that support and bring that in-house for a lot of the patients that really need that. It's, for people who are looking for that kind of holistic care, that want a care model that is inclusive of all of those things, it is 100% not something that you'll find in many other places with that team who has those experiences and that expertise. So it's been exciting. I've only been back for a couple months because they opened in August and I had COA. So I wasn't there for the grand opening. But over the past few months, I hit the ground running, seeing all different kinds of patients. And it isn't just the fertility, it's really that 60-40 split. And it's exciting to see that so many more people really are looking for this kind of care. They want the balance between having some aspects of traditional medicine. For example, being able to come in, cough, cold, not feeling well, etc., having access to writing referrals for screening recommendations when they're appropriate, seeing me for primary care. But then they have this other lens of looking at things from a functional medicine perspective and the integrated care team. And so having all of that, it packs a different punch.
Yeah, for sure. So your fertility cycle, that IVF, anything else that you want to say as that you kind of got to the place of seeing how different it was in that time, and so then you got normal embryos, or what
Yes.
we definitely got to go back.
Let's pick it up. So in that cycle, we ended up getting, 3 embryos. There were 9 eggs fertilized, 3 embryos, 2 we froze, and those 2 were only average quality and 1 was poor. So 1 was average and 1 was poor quality. My reproductive doctor, she said, this particular one looks as though it's developing really well, day 1, day 2, day 3, throughout time. And she said, I don't want to freeze that. Let's just go ahead and shotgun and implant it right away after it's already developed. Without testing it. No tests, no nothing, no poking at it.
No manipulation.
None. And I said, are you sure? Because everybody talks about testing and how, you want to know the grade, you want to know. And she goes, no, I'm sure. We're going to just shotgun this. And again, you just have to leave it up to the universe. Like, okay, this is a decision that I'm making and this is what we're going to go with. And so when I got pregnant with COA, after, I think it's a couple of weeks before you get the test and you find out, that was a shotgun, non-frozen, just right then and there approach. And
did they put it in day 3 or wait till blastocyst day 5?
Mine was day 6.
Okay.
Yes, day 6.
I love the day 6 embryos because they really show that they have the endurance and they're serious about going for it.
So serious. I mean, when they were looking at it, they were like, look, the other 2 are growing a little slower. They're not bad, but they're growing a little slower, maybe a day or 2 behind. And of course, I was getting reports each day, And so finally at day 6, let's just put it in. Let's just, no testing, no prodding, no nothing. We're just going to put this in.
But you were using progesterone and lining the lining and getting it already. Okay.
Yes, so we're talking like all the ultrasounds, doing the progesterone injections, which were horrendous. I hated that experience, but hey, you do what you have to.
Right.
So, that was all part of it. And even throughout the first trimester, I was still on the progesterone injections throughout that first trimester. But it was the other 2 we still have frozen.
Okay.
And I just found
tested.
Those ones were, they were great. They were graded. And I believe that they were like, I don't remember the exact, but they weren't as wonderful as COA.
Did they biopsy and test genetics?
They did. Yes.
So they're 2 normals.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great.
So, we're leaving it up to the universe. Do I know if we're going to use them or do something with them or donate them to science or have a second child? I will tell you that in the past, over the 8 years, I had seen 3 separate psychic mediums. And all 3 of them would all tell me that I visualize you with 2 children. And one in particular told me, I see 2 children jumping on a bed and they're playing together, jumping on the bed. And this is like before, I would always ask, what do they look like? What are their ages? Can you tell any, is it boy or girl? And this particular psychic medium told me, no, I can't tell any of that, but I do see 2 kids and I see them jumping on the bed. So who knows? I have Koa. He's now 6 months old. I'm leaving it up to the universe.
Yeah, you'll know.
Yes.
You'll know. But you're also back at work. And so you have to
balance.
Yeah. Take good stock of what you've learned along the way.
100%.
To leave some for yourself.
Yes.
So that you have some to give to everybody.
And it's an ongoing journey, like protecting my own peace, protecting my self-care, really setting some boundaries when it comes to work and being home and being present. That's an ongoing journey, as I think it would be for anyone. Yeah.
So in the totality of you as a well-rounded physician, truly integrative, and a woman who's gone through fertility as well as breast cancer treatment, for the listeners out there, some words of encouragement or inspiration? What could you share with them?
I would say, number one, we always talk about how you shouldn't lose hope for whatever your dream is. And that dream might look differently. Don't fixate on that perfection. I also think it's important for women to not be so hard on ourselves. We are constantly in the fight and the battle and the journey for so many things. And, take a step back and celebrate who you are and how you are. It's also important to not be hard on yourselves. The last thing I'd say is stay curious. Stay really curious. When a doctor tells you, oh, I don't think that that's going to happen, or, you should try something else, or you feel let down or you feel discouraged by something, don't let that stop you from whatever that dream or that goal is. You will find other practitioners and other healers and other ways of looking at your health and disease and healing and thriving. And when you do, you'll know it. You'll feel supported. You'll feel confident. You'll feel inspired by who you're working with. And people can tell, people know that. They know that feeling. If I had given up on that dream and I had just listened to what the doctors told me, I'd be in a very different place, and I think a darker place, I felt discouraged and felt let down from lots of different experiences with different types of reproductive doctors and OBGYNs and my own practitioners over time. And if I had listened to that, I wouldn't be here at all. And so, maintaining that hope and that spirit, that is so important. But in that last round of IVF, I just focused on surrender. I focused on just letting myself let go, let free, and focusing on that self-care, really setting a hard line for what I needed, which was to give myself time and space to really understand and be present for that experience.
Which is kind of the mindset that you had for healing of the breast cancer and healing or recovering or integrating whatever needed to be from childhood trauma.
Yes.
Because that's the whole idea behind holistic medicine, is to make us whole again.
Yeah.
Right? Somehow we're fractured. Somehow we're broken. Somehow we're not perfect. We're not enough. But whole is like just this contained.
Yeah.
And
whenever I talk to patients, the ones that come after they've seen multiple doctors, multiple healers, I remind myself that they care. They have questions. They care enough to keep forging forward. They want to learn. They're curious. They want to look at their bodies in a different way. They want to understand physiology a bit more than what they've been offered. And, there's something about that. So really, when you find the right person to support that healing journey, there's nothing like it. And people know that. Yeah.
And then it's mutual. When you get those ones that are curious, empowered types, you as a physician learn from them.
100%. I've learned from every single patient.
Oh, me too. It's not that draining. It's a partnership.
Yes. Yeah. Very much collaborative, you know, as I've always felt it should be. It should never have been like one on top of the other or one dictating the message. It was always about learning and growing together, really collaborative. And I love that. I love that that's also celebrated and honored in your practice. I remember when we met, I don't know if you remember this, but we were at one of the dinners that We Natal had sponsored. And we were in this beautiful home. And you and I were actually sitting side by side amongst the circle. And so after we had that moment of breath work, we were actually side by side to each other. And part of the exercise was also to help support confidence and uplifting each other. And when we were side by side, you were actually my partner for that. And I never forgot that. That was also like one of the first times where in my mind, I was like, this person is truly special. She's a beautiful healer. And I really loved that about you.
Oh, Jaclyn, you're going to make me cry. Yeah, it's genuine, right? When this work finds us, it's really a calling, and we're showing up for it, and we're doing the work that we feel called to do until we feel a different calling.
Yes.
So for you to be on this final season of my podcast is very special because I feel like my next chapter is coming. And if I don't heed that calling, then even with all the healing information and stuff that I know to do, then I'm not honoring myself.
Right. Yes. Yes.
So what do we do with what we know and what we are learning and stuff? So thank you for acknowledging that. And I remember just feeling like your energy field was so beautiful and positive. And look, now I get to know more of the backstory and it all makes sense.
Yeah. Thank you.
So thank you so much for being here with me today. And I just want to let the patients know, I just want to make sure that listeners know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at Love.Life. I'm just kidding. I'm there like maybe 4 days a week or so. And also I do Saturdays. So I see patients on Saturdays for those that are working throughout the week. You can also find me at my website, drjaclyntolentino.com. You'll find also some resources through social media. I also like to post some aspects of my own personal life.
Instagram?
Yes.
What's the account?
At Dr. Jaclyn Tolentino on Instagram.
Okay.
And then we're doing a really fun longevity learning series at Love.Life that's going to happen every Wednesday at 6:00 for about an hour. Open, free to the community for anyone who wants to come.
It's not just women?
Not just women.
Okay.
Yeah, for anyone who wants to come. And the purpose of those conversations, there's different topics, some of which are related to fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, over time. I think we have a list and we can also share that with listeners, but it's focused on longevity and health span. So these different topics are addressing certain aspects of education, and then we're engaging in thoughtful conversation amongst who attends. So there is a learning piece to it, and there's a collaborative piece to it. There's also a meet and greet for people to get to know. And I think it's a great free offering for the community, for anyone who wants to come.
Yeah, 100%. So each week is a different topic pertaining to health, and you can find the calendar.
Yes. Yeah.
Love.Life.
Yes, it should be there. And then we can also add a link and share that with this episode.
Perfect. Great idea. Okay, Jaclyn, time to get you home to baby boy. Thank you so much again.
Yes. Oh, no, thank you.